I hooked up with my dad's best friend and now I'm pregnant. Should I tell my dad? I met my dad's best friend when I was 15 years old. Growing up, he would come to my house every now and then. A few years ago, my dad became a really big fan of the gym. Him and his best friend started going and they actually got really fit. Around this time, I turned 21 years old and I would start going out with my friends a lot. My dad would always make an effort to pick me up after I would go party with my friends. So anytime I went to a club or a bar, my dad would pretty much go pick me up without fail. But sometimes he couldn't and he would send his best friend instead. A little backstory on my dad's best friend. After he and my dad got in shape, he turned into a fitness model. Models for clothing brands and a lot of sports gear. He actually never got married himself. Instead, he dates a lot of women. And before you all go crazy, most of them are his age. I'm sure you're all wondering he's 39 years old. So like I said, my dad would sometimes send him to pick me up from clubs and stuff. The first time he went to pick me up, I actually didn't even recognize him. He had just finished going on a date and he looked amazing. When I got in his Tesla with him, I just couldn't stop staring at him. He asked me what was wrong and I said, "Wow, you look so handsome." Then he laughed and said, "Oh, I clean up well." After that, he picked me up a few more times. On the 5th night that he picked me up, I was totally wasted. When I got in his car, I was telling him that I really wanted to hook up with somebody. I grabbed his thigh and he told me that I needed to find somebody my own age. When I grabbed his thigh, he told me that I needed to look for somebody my own age. I started to laugh and asked why. That's when he said that he would never want to do anything to jeopardize his relationship with my dad and that I was way too young for him. I told him my dad had nothing to do with it and that we were both consenting adults. Then all he said was, "Nice try." Of course, I felt rejected, but I knew that he was attracted to me too. So I knew that all I had to do was wait. A few weeks later, my dad had a get together with some of his friends. And of course, his best friend was there too. And this time he looked so good. So I decided to make another move. While my dad was in the backyard with all his friends, I asked his best friend to come with me to the kitchen. As soon as we stepped into the kitchen, he grabbed my hand and told me that I needed to calm down. I told him there was nothing wrong with us liking each other. And then he kissed me. And oh my god, he's such a good kisser. But the kiss only lasted like 3 seconds. He went back outside and didn't talk to me for the rest of the night. I was hooked at that point. A few weeks later, I went out with some friends and told my dad that I needed him to pick me up. But of course, I knew my dad was on a business trip. So guess who he sends? His best friend. But when he came to pick me up, I decided to act like nothing had happened. When I got in the car, we didn't say a word to each other. He just started driving me home. Once we were a block away from my house, he parked his car. Suddenly, he starts kissing me and it was so amazing. And we ended up hooking up in his car that night. After the night we hooked up in his car, we didn't speak for about 2 weeks. But of course, I played it cool. I just pretended like I didn't care. My mom and dad's anniversary was a few days at this point, so my siblings and I decided to have a party for them. And of course, we invited my dad's best friend, Purr. I knew I had to look absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. I wore a beautiful lavender silk dress, which fit like a glove. The festivities were amazing and my parents had a great time. And the entire night, my dad's best friend just kept staring at me. But like I said, I was playing hard to get. We had a live band and catering for the whole event, so everyone was out on the dance floor. Seeing as everyone was distracted, I decided to go to the kitchen because I knew that he would follow me. And he did. Once he came into the kitchen, he started kissing me. Then we went inside the pantry and hooked up again. Before we went back to the party, he told me he had really serious feelings for me. And I told him I did too. That's when he told me that we should be honest with my parents and tell them the truth. Because he really wanted a relationship with me. A few days later, we told my parents while at dinner. My dad absolutely lost it. I managed to calm him down and we all talked. Been a few weeks now and he's come to accept it a little more. But now I've missed my period. The test came out positive and I haven't told anybody. I'm so scared. What should I do?
Just know mother-in-law announced she'll be coming over at 2, but I have a stripper pole in my living room. LOL. I'm currently at work until 2:30 and my boyfriend is home. His mother texted him that she and father-in-law will pass by at 2 and bring lunch. Boyfriend immediately texted me, all caps, "Babe, the stripper pole." So I'm at work laughing, imagining the absolute horror in their faces when they walk in and the first thing they see is my shiny, beautiful stripper pole. Did I mention that they are very Christian? So I texted back, "Fuck it. It's our house. They'll have to live with it. I will definitely update. LOL."
Wow. Yes. Fireworks.
Do we have an update or no?
Oh yeah, we got a couple. Oh my God. I'm in my bedroom typing this right now. I got home and I opened the door. "Tell me right now boyfriend is lying." Me. What? Mother-in-law. "He said that he wants to be a stripper."
Yes. Yes.
My boyfriend can't contain himself and just turns red and dies of laughter. And I'm standing in my doorway, wide-eyed, confused as fuck. I just say, he's lying. I'm gonna go change." Well, anyways, I can hear her asking him why we have it, and I can hear him still laughing. LOL.
Oh.
Update. I exit my room. Mother-in-law and father-in-law are just staring at my pole. First thing out of her mouth, quote, "If you're tight on money, we can help you. You don't need to do this. It's disgusting. And boyfriend shouldn't be allowing it." Me, "I'm not a stripper. We're good on money." It's good exercise. Father-in-law: then go for a run. That's a stupid exercise. There's so many other things you can do. Boyfriend: have you ever seen pole dancing competitions? It's not stripping, I swear. It's super cool. Boyfriend proceeds to go on YouTube and pulls up a video. Silence. Father-in-law: whoa! Turns to me. Can you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Last update. Okay, this went a full 180 and honestly, we had a lot of fun. I did a few tricks and mother-in-law was shrieking in delight. She was so impressed. Then father-in-law, ... Quote, I can do that.
Oh, yes.
Cue father-in-law trying to pole dance and killing it, I may add.
Wow.
That shit's fucking hard, too.
So hard. Mother-in-law was looking at him like he was a snack. It was so funny. Boyfriend and father-in-law even got into a little competition on who could do the best tricks. Finally, they got ready to leave, and they told us that they had a great time. I still don't trust them, but they were completely different people from the past, and we both got the feeling that they're really trying.
Oh, nice.
We're staying hopeful and cautious.
I love it. I love the way the boyfriend played it.
So is screwing over somebody's business a reason to kill them? I think we all know how insane the Joe versus Carol case was. When it came out, it was huge, and it released a whole subculture of things that we did not even know about. And just how competitive and strange the exotic animal industry in America is like. And it was really popular whenever I was younger for people to hire Joe for their birthday parties. Like, I kind of knew Joe as the person that did my friend's birthday parties and was like the magic man. But Peacock is now releasing a show called Joe versus Carol, so I figured we would actually talk more about the case. So Joseph Allen Maldonado Passage was born March 5th of 1963. He was born in Kansas and then later moved to Texas for high school. And I've really wondered what happened in his early life for him to become the man he is today, now in his 50s. The best way I think that I can describe Joe's personality is he's almost like a vlogger, a YouTube vlogger before that was even a thing. So he was born in Kansas and then moved to Texas to complete high school. And right after graduation, he served as the chief of police in Eastvale. And he ended up leaving law enforcement after he was in a pretty big accident. While he has made previous claims that going off of a bridge was self-inflicted, it's also been stated that it was during a drug investigation, so I don't know. But either way, he was left in a coma for 9 days and had several broken bones. But because of how severe the injuries were, he just was not the same after this. He moved to West Palm Beach and opened up a pet store. And a friend of his who owned a drive-through safari ended up bringing baby lions to him. And seeing his friend work with these animals was kind of his inspiration. So he moved to Arlington and opened up another pet shop with his brother, who also shared his love of exotic animals. But he ended up becoming a target for Arlington officials. He would fly an American flag with rainbow stripes above his building because he was openly gay. And horribly, he was subject to a lot of discrimination during this time. And in 1997, his brother Gerald Wayne passed away in an auto accident. And this absolutely destroyed Joe. So he ended up selling his pet shop and then acquiring 16 acres of land in Oklahoma with his parents. And he opened up the Gerald Wayne Exotic Memorial Park, dedicated to his brother. But this is just where the story begins. Okay guys, so things are about to get a little crazy. So in the 2000s, Joe ended up acquiring his first 2 tigers, which had been abandoned. And he stated that the first animal rescue in his career was actually an alligator with an eye infection. And a weird fun fact during this is he actually called up Steve Irwin during this time to help get the proper antibiotic for his alligator. And it seemed like at the very beginning of his career, his goal was to be kind of like Steve Irwin. He really wanted to be able to educate people on exotic animals. Well, one day in Texas, law enforcement found a group of neglected emus. So Joe ended up volunteering to take these emus back to his animal park. But he ended up having a hard time capturing and controlling these birds, so he wound up just killing them. He was obviously accused of animal cruelty by the police, but since they were considered livestock, that can be legally humanely killed in Texas. So Joe was not indicted. Well, Joe became obsessed with breeding tigers. Tiger cubs ended up being the most profitable because you could essentially get people to pay a lot of money to come hold a tiger, interact with a tiger. He was also breeding animals like ligers as well, but it is like $10,000 per tiger each year to feed them. And all these cubs grow up to be adults, so what are you going to do losing all that money? Well, Joe claimed that he could do it for $3,000 a year. And what he meant by this was he was feeding all of his big cats expired meat from Walmart, which he also ate too. The whole thing was kind of gross. And in 2006, they got cited multiple times by the USDA. He was falsifying wildlife records and was also killing animals, which is in violation of the Endangered Species Act. Also during this time, this man is documenting absolutely everything. While Joe's building up popularity and money, he's taking these cubs on tour. He also gets a singing career somewhere in this, which, by the way, is not him singing. He conned artists saying that he was making music for his reality show and they would be singing in it. And later on, he just made his own music videos to it. So all of this madness got the attention of Miss Carol Baskin. And man, is this when things get real messy. Okay, so let's get into Joe and Carol's feud. So whenever she heard all of this going on, she was like, absolutely not. She has a big cat sanctuary, and she's this wildlife advocate even though she prior owned a zoo like Joe's. So even though she used to do stuff like this, she was like, this is unethical, stop. And she already had like a pretty big online community. So she was trying to send her fan base, I don't really know what they're called, basically over to shut Joe down. So the audience plus her team at Big Cat Rescue would essentially email bomb any place Joe was hired at. They would cancel his shows, and this really affected his revenue. He set up his YouTube channel to basically talk bad about her, and she would kind of do the same thing online. And because she had done something similar to him, he essentially saw her as a hypocrite. But Joe took it too far on many occasions. One time videoing and uploading a video of him killing her in blow-up doll form, and he ended up actually going over via helicopter to survey her sanctuary. Apparently she had around 200 tigers, but for some reason all they could find were 12. So he posed the question, where are the other tigers at if she doesn't believe in cages? He also ended up obtaining her diary, which was stolen off of her computer by a former employee. Carol's husband, Don Lewis, ended up disappearing in 1997. He was legally declared dead in 2002, and Joe started to perpetuate that she may have killed her husband and fed him to the tigers. And there's just a lot of conspiracies surrounding his death. That's a whole separate case. And he was offering $10,000 for information to lead to Carol's arrest. And he went ahead and rebranded his travel show and named it after her sanctuary and gave it a Florida number, so a bunch of people were thinking that she was taking her tigers on traveling shows. So she sued him for trademark infringement and ended up getting $1 million. Well, not really. Joe filed for bankruptcy and she was unable to collect most of it. And then Joe turns around and runs for president in 2016. His little campaign video ended up going viral on YouTube. And when he failed, he ended up running for governor in 2018. Allegedly, his bankruptcy was kind of the motive behind this, so that he could build back up his money and turn people against Carol. And since this doesn't work, this is when he decides that he is going to hire someone to kill her. So Joe really needs help, really needs money for the zoo, and that's whenever he reaches out to Jeff Lowe. Jeff is from Vegas and also involved in this big cat industry. But in reality, he is honestly just a con artist. All the tapes for Joe's reality show that's been filmed is actually located in his alligator enclosure. And this whole enclosure horrifically burned down. Joe ended up blaming animal rights activists and alluded to the fact that Carol was responsible behind it. But the man filming him had said that he had caught some pretty awful things on tape, including Joe just killing animals for the fun of it. So it's theorized that Joe maybe just burnt down this building himself. So Joe ends up giving Jeff his zoo, thinking that he's going to get it back one day, because he claims that he has all this money and he's going to fix it and blah, blah, blah. And Jeff ends up suggesting to Joe that one of his men, who's a hitman, could kill Carol. They end up going as far as mapping out her bike trail, and they involve this man named Alan Glover who had no intention of killing Carol, and pays him literally just $3,000. Joe ends up getting arrested for this and has his zoo raided. They unearth 5 tiger skeletons on his property, and so he was charged with a murder for hire plot as well as killing 5 tigers in 2017. He was found guilty on 19 charges and was sentenced to 22 years in prison. So Jeff Lowe obviously screwed him over and now has ownership of his zoo and strikes immunity because they flip on Joe. If you would like to go more into depth and know a little bit more about this feud, Joe vs. Carol is now on Peacock. Kate McKinnon is in it playing Carol Baskin, so I'm definitely going to be streaming it.
Have you ever watched someone girl boss way too close to the sun? The summer before my freshman year of college, all new students had to stay in the dorm for a 2-day orientation. The only rule they told us when we arrived was no visitors in the rooms, no exceptions. Well, that was totally fine because my orientation roommate and I clicked right away. So when a group of us from the floor were going out to get tacos, I was like, hey, come with us. She said, oh, I can't. I'm actually about to see an old friend that lives here in LA. Oh, are y'all gonna get lunch? No. Actually, why don't you text me before you come back to the room? That's suspicious. But you had to get through security to get to the room, so it wasn't like he was gonna be there. Well, after getting tacos, it was like 3 p.m. and I so needed a nap, so I started walking up to the room. And I just texted her, hey, I'm coming up. No response. She's probably just out with her friend. But I opened the door, and she's there, pinned against the wall, aggressively making out with this guy. I closed the door super quick, and as far as I know, neither of them saw me. I take a little walk around campus, a few hours pass, it's probably safe to go back. So I open the door, and thank goodness, there's no making out. But there is a dude with her on the bed, and he says, hey. Well, I do a full body screenshot because it is not the same guy she was kissing before. It is a new guy. I decided to just play innocent. Oh, is this your friend? She goes, oh no, this is a guy I just met on Tinder. Now keep in mind, this girl had just flown in from Illinois that morning, meaning she had secured and snuck in 2 whole entire men within an 8-hour period. Pretty soon after that, they left the room, and I went to bed so excited to ask her for the tea when I woke up. But in the morning, I opened my eyes to find all of her stuff gone. The orientation didn't end until late that night, so either A, she moved in with one of the boys, or B, security had caught them sneaking in and kicked her out. I just know that girl had an interesting freshman year.
Am I the asshole for leaving my brother's wedding earlier after I was pissed at my sister-in-law? Okay, I'm 29 male and I have a 10-month-old baby. Everyone knows in my family that me and my wife are both new parents, so we are a little bit overprotective. I had to go to my brother's wedding last week without my wife since she was a bridesmaid at another wedding. So I had to fly with my son alone and it was very stressful. I was already on edge and my sister-in-law and brother knew this. My brother was very happy that I was bringing my son, but my sister-in-law wasn't. She was extremely hostile towards me. She basically made it a point that she's not going to serve my son food. That was fine with me, so I made plans to bring my own food. When I told her that I'd be bringing food, she said I'd need to feed him outside the reception hall. This wasn't an issue. I thought it was weird, but it's fine. So during the ceremony, he got a little fussy, so I took him out to change him. I ended up missing a part of the ceremony because I forgot the diapers in my rental car. My brother was really understanding, but once again, my sister-in-law made some snide comments and told me that I need to get my son under control. I then made a sarcastic comment saying, yeah, I'll just tranquilize him next time. She did not like that joke at all. During the reception party, pretty much everyone on my brother's side was coming up to me and trying to meet the baby for the first time. This was the first family gathering I brought the baby to, and everyone just wanted to meet him. Well, this didn't sit well with sister-in-law once again. She was mad everyone's attention was on me and not on her. Eventually, she came up to me and told me to stop stealing their moment, or I can get out. At that point, I was really tired of her BS, so I just left and went back to my hotel. The next day, my mom and dad were furious at me and asked why I left. I told them, and they still took my sister-in-law's side. My brother is now mad at me, too. I told him straight up that sister-in-law is acting like a child and that I can't make my son stop acting like a baby. Am I the asshole?